The VOD. That's what they say. Alright, moving on, we have one from Thoughty2. Thoughty2, yeah. Yeah, what was it? In 173. Okay. Interesting.
Stories. No matter the era or the geography, every culture tells stories. And like the people who tell them, these
Except for the
stories
French, who are a backwards individual type of decadent people. No.
come in all different shapes and sizes. Some are new.
Technically, there might be like a teensy-weensy bit of French in our background. Not enough to matter, not enough to make us weird, okay? Just a little bit.
Many are old. Some are designed to teach important lessons, others simply to entertain. For the most part, these stories are just that, stories. Tall tales passed from generation to generation, but every now and again...
That's the truth. Every story has a kernel of truth in it, or every lie has a kernel of truth. It's kind of hard to come up with something from nothing, so generally speaking, I tend to think there's a little bit of something behind it.
Again, hidden away amongst the fairy tales and local legends is something truly remarkable. An ancient tale that, no matter how outlandish or fantastical it may sound, it might just be real. This video is about...
You know, Aurora Borealis, they're like really cool. We live a little bit far enough north that we sometimes get them, but we don't really get the crazy colors that I think you would get further up north. Sometimes that'd be fun to go watch.
One such story. It concerns events that took place near a small English village almost 900 years ago. It's a story about green children and underground kingdoms. Details that on the...
It looks different somehow. I'm not for sure why. Maybe it's a lighting thing?
Surface are clearly ridiculous, and yet many historians suspect this ancient piece of bizarre English folklore might actually be true. Now, you might already be familiar with this story, particularly if you're a Brit like me, but just in case
I'm not a Brit like you.
You aren't, allow me to tell you about the strange case of the Green Children of Woolpit. Sometime in the mid-12th century, two unknown children, a boy and a girl, were discovered lost and alone on the outskirts.
What's it? Is silver the one that can turn your skin like blue or something? That's like a type of interesting, like I think it's like direct contact with like raw silver or something like that can turn your skin blue. It's weird.
The English village of Woolpit. So named because it was built near a series of pits that were dug to trap wolves. Nobody knew who these children were or where they'd come from.
That was actually, for the record, I think that was actually a huge thing back in the day where like there was one, I don't remember what the name of the story is, but there was one where they literally had such an issue with them that I think they had... There was something where like their wolves were actually in their streets and whatnot, and they would come right into the cities because they were that hungry. But they had literally, I think, opened up the city gates, let all the wolves in, closed them, and then kind of let the wolves starve or something. I'm sure they were trying to kill all of them.
But one thing was crystal clear: they weren't local. For starters, they wore strange clothes and spoke an unknown
I think that was a thing. It might have just been a tall tale or some novel scenario that someone dreamt up, but it's going to be interesting anyways.
But there was something even more unusual about these frightened foundlings. Their skin was bright green. Now, I'm the first person to say that people come in all different shapes and sizes and skin colours, but as far as I'm aware, green isn't usually
Clearly the devil's work.
One of them. Despite their frankly alarming appearance, these were still children who clearly needed help. And so the good people of Woolpit took them in, offering them shelter, fresh clothes, and sustenance. Or at least...
I kind of like the animation style that he does.
They tried to. The clothes and shelter went down just fine, but the sustenance? Not so much. The children were clearly famished, but they refused every single morsel that was put in front of them for several days. That is, until they happened across a patch of broad beans growing in a garden, which they attacked with the enthusiasm of a
because they're green, obviously.
student in a kebab shop at 2 a.m. Over time, the children were accepted into the Woolpit community. They learnt to eat normal food, and they were both baptized at the local church. The girl...
Based. No, I don't know. There's... I feel like there's a point where, yeah, you want to be a little bit careful about letting kids get baptized if they're just, like, kind of doing a group. And there's a lot of peer pressure maybe when you're growing up. I think it's better if children are choosing, like, independently if they want to be baptized, if they want to become part of the church, or whatever the case is, that's a conscious decision they make. Otherwise, it's just kind of a thing where later they're like, oh, okay, that was the thing that I did, but I'm not really interested in now. It's better if it's something that's going to stick. So it's better if it's something that they themselves choose.
But her green skin faded to a normal, healthy pink. And she even learnt to speak English. But the boy never adapted to his new surroundings. He grew slowly weaker and eventually died.
Oh dear.
Now that the girl spoke the lingo, the inhabitants of Woolpit were keen to understand her story. Who was she? Where had she and her brother come from? And most importantly of all, why the hell were they bright green? The girl was only too happy to answer these questions. But rather than solve the mystery, her batshit insane origin story only added to it. And now for a quick ad from Adu. Adu is an...
To be fair, like, it feels like I'd heard the notion that, like, when you... I guess... Oh, never mind. Forget about that. But the notion would be, like, I don't know if kids would always remember what they're going through entirely correctly. And they might create a story around it. They might misremember it or remember it in such a way as to be less traumatic for themselves. It's a little bit strange that way.
All-in-one business management software that provides entrepreneurs with a range of applications to simplify the
powered by AI. I don't know.
Day-to-day management of their business. Invoicing, accounting, project management,
the new Bluetooth,
inventory, website creation, and more. Adu grows with you, allowing you to add apps as your business develops and your needs change. Now, running a YouTube channel isn't just writing, filming, and editing. There's a mountain of paperwork, NDAs, scanning them back. One should have to then sign and adding one or any signatories in over one completely free with its first app offer, which is free for life. So try your first Adu app free for life.
Link in the description.
Click the link in the description below. Don't miss out.
Did you know 90% of all puzzles are
Another
flowers,
pearl.
animals, or landscapes? Well, we thought that was boring.
Okay, I want to watch this one.
This is Odd Pieces. It's not your ordinary puzzle.
That's cool.
It's a mystery with a secret ending.
I might have looked
And the
that one
picture
up.
on the box? That's not what you're building. That's the world before.
She claimed that she and the boy, her younger brother,
Pieces.
were from somewhere called St. Martin's Land, a place of perpetual twilight where the inhabitants all had green skin just like them. Separated from St. Martin's Land by a wide river was another city or territory of some kind. The girl didn't know its name, but she claimed that unlike her homeland, it was always bathed in light. As for how she and her brother ended up outside of Woolpit, the girl's explanation was just as bizarre. She claimed they were taking care of their father's cattle when they heard a strange melodic sound. They traced the music to the mouth of a cave, and like the hot babysitter in a slasher movie,
It's like reverse Chronicles of Narnia.
investigating a noise in the basement, they decided to take a look around. They wondered
Think how disappointing it would be if you came from a world like Narnia. Well, I guess I don't know. Maybe that novelty is just a matter of perspective, but it feels like satyrs and witches and whatnot. Man, that's pretty crazy.
the cave for a long time, guided by the music. Eventually it led them back above ground, where the light was so bright they could hardly open their eyes. When they tried to turn back, the cave had disappeared, and they were found by the people of Woolpit soon afterwards. Now, at this point, I'd forgive you for thinking that
Sweet glory. All right.
there was literally no way in hell any of this nonsense actually happened. That's exactly what I thought when I started researching this story. But I wasn't joking when I said many historians believe the strange tale of the Green Children of Woolpit is actually true. Or to borrow a phrase from Hollywood, that at the very least it is based on real events. So what's going on here? How can such a blatantly ridiculous story have actually happened?
My thought is maybe they got a hold of some sort of psychedelic mushrooms. Just saying.
Start from the beginning. We know about the Green Children of Woolpit from two different primary sources. William of Newburgh's Historia Rerum Anglicarum, written at the tail end of the 12th century, and Ralph of Coggeshall's Chronicum Anglicanum, written some 30 years later. These aren't quite contemporary accounts. Even Newburgh's was likely written a decade or two after the events took place, but they're close enough that first-hand witnesses could still have been alive. The two retellings are very similar. In fact, the key elements of the story are identical. But there are enough
Interesting. The plot thickens.
differences to suggest they are independent retellings gathered from different sources. That's important because it suggests Ralph Coggeshall didn't just copy William of Newburgh's homework. He found out about the story from elsewhere. That fits with what we know about their sources.
And there's kind of notions like that too, like where if a thing is flawed in a different way, and it kind of adds to that as well, you can get different mistakes from different individuals or something like that. But in this case, I don't know if there would be much case to. It's like if you copy someone else's answers, then you end up with a test score that reflects that, or whatever. Yeah, you get the same problems wrong. That's the point. In this case, I guess that's not really a thing because, I mean, there wasn't really much to check it against. There wasn't other historical accounts that would conflict with these two.
Of Newburgh claims he heard the account
there wouldn't be like established historical records. That's my point. Okay.
From multiple trustworthy persons, and Ralph of Coggeshall goes one step further, naming local knight Sir Richard de Carn of Wykes as his source. According to Coggeshall, the Green Children lived with de Carn after they were first found. Both texts are serious historical works, and they present the story of the Green Children of Woolpit as simple fact, and not some kind of fable or allegory. None of this proves for certain that the story is real, but it does suggest that something genuinely unusual happened near Woolpit. Something memorable enough that two respected chroniclers, writing independently and decades apart, both judged it worth recording as history rather than hearsay. And the fact that the two accounts are so similar, green skin and all, makes it much harder to dismiss the seemingly impossible details. So what's going on here? How on earth did two bright green children turn up in the middle of 12th century England, dressed in strange clothes and speaking and...
If you could change your skin into whatever color you wanted, what would it be? And no racial appropriation. To be fair, growing up, I was told that apparently I thought my skin was so bland, and I thought maybe I was wishing it would be black or something. I'm not for sure.
An unknown language. Well, believe it or not, there may well be a perfectly rational answer to that question. But let's start by getting the more outlandish theories out of the way first.
Don't tell me. Alternate
News
reality.
that will surprise absolutely nobody.
That's the only explanation.
Plenty of tinfoil hat enthusiasts have linked the story of the Green Children of Woolpit with, well, basically everything. One of the most popular theories is that the children weren't human at all, but fairies. The British Isles are steeped in centuries of fairy folklore, and a couple of green kids emerging from a hole in the ground is a play straight out of the Fair Folk textbook. Admittedly, fairies aren't typically depicted as having green skin, but they are strongly associated with the colour green. They're also often described
It's like sprites or something.
as living in some kind of underground world. They would naturally speak another language and presumably don't shop at Zara. In many ways, the fairy theory
If you're just listening, there's some censoring going on. A lot of fairies, I think, were depicted naked. So.
is a perfect fit. Except for the minor downside that it relies on fairies actually being real. And if you happen to believe in fairies, plenty of people do, just ask Reddit, then you can probably turn this video off right now. For you, the fairy theories are slam dunk. If you don't, well, a 900-year-old story.
I don't know. like really jive.
Story about
Feels a little bit forced. I'll put it that way. And for the record, I don't know if I believe in fairies either. I think most legends, again, I think they have some sort of basis, but
being kids is unlikely to change your mind. As for me, I'm happy to file this one away in the clearly mental drawer. And whilst we're at it, we can stick several other Woolpit theories in there with it. No, the children were not aliens, nor
how
were
dare you?
Visitors from a parallel dimension. They don't prove Hollow Earth is real. They weren't turned green by exposure to radiation, and they didn't arrive on Earth from another planet after an unfortunate teleporter malfunction. Right, I'm glad we got that out of the way. But where does that leave us?
Unless you have a story, you don't have a way to persuade people.
Well, Sherlock Holmes once said that once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth. But he wasn't even real, so what the
What does he know?
hell does he know?
Ah,
No. To solve this
For the record, I did not watch this before, but yeah, what else would he say there? I suppose.
cold case, we don't need the help of a detective. We need a doctor. Because it turns out that the key to this whole strange mystery may just lie with a...
Actually, there's a weird thing that I was thinking of, though. Like, in scenarios like that, there's what you would maybe call, like, a psychological choke point, where if you're in certain scenarios, you could predict what, like, pretty accurately what any given person in that scenario would do or say. So if you're in a room and a gunshot goes off, like, those first couple seconds after the gunshot, everyone's thought process is going to be roughly the same. Pretty much, right? It's all going to be, what the heck was that? Where did it come from? Maybe running, or I guess after that it gets a little bit more dubious as to what people will do. Maybe they'll run towards it, maybe they'll run away, maybe they'll call 911 or something like that. But those first couple seconds, the initial reaction is almost identical in everyone. It's an interesting notion.
little known medical condition that affects the body's red blood cells. The scientific name for this condition is hyperchromic anemia, but back in the Middle Ages it was known by a different name, green sickness. You can probably see where I'm going with this. There are several common symptoms of hyperchromic anemia, including fatigue and a loss of appetite. That last one might be significant given the children refused all food for several days. But by far the most striking symptom of hyperchromic anemia is that, in severe cases, it can give the skin a pale green tint. Might the green children of Woolpit have been suffering from this rare condition? Well, we have no way of knowing for sure, but it's certainly plausible. Like other forms of anemia, hyperchromic anemia is caused by malnutrition and iron deficiency, both of which were common in the medieval world. Seen through the lens of their green skin, the other details of the
Sounds
story.
plausible. We'll go with that one. Anyways, you can go check this out if you want to. Thoughty2, blah, 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 blah. I listened to more of that than maybe I should have, but yeah. Anyways,